You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about complicated villains. I'm MJ.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And joining us for this episode is Mea Pearson. Yay!
Yay!
Welcome, May. Good to have you.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have Mea here because of all the people that we've had on our show. I think Mea is one of the very few people who willingly does renegade actions.
Yeah, we know too many goody two-shoes.
Yeah, I am the one person who is not afraid to be an asshole in a game for the sake of the role play.
That is an important commodity to us here at Reignite, as it seems like just about 90% of the guests who've come on have all been in line with me and MJ, which is boring enough that both me and MJ both do Paragon actions, which I think was a big lead to wanting to have guests on in the first place, is to get diverse perspectives on the show.
Yeah. So, Mea, can you share a little bit about yourself for our listeners?
Well, I guess I am just a jack of all trades. I have done just a little bit about everything. I'm currently working at an outpatient facility as a mental health counselor. I'm also sort of like a case manager there, where I just work with people one-on-one to get them back on their feet. And if they, have like a problem, like they're facing homelessness or something like that, it is my job to like look into resources for them and make sure that that's taken care of, because it's kind of hard to treat depression if you're worried about money, it turns out. But I've also done a bit of photography, I've done modeling, I've done astrology and tarot and all of the things, and I play a lot of video games.
So, how did you get into Mass Effect?
Originally I had no plans of playing Mass Effect. I was really big into Dragon Age. I've always been kind of more fantasy over sci-fi. And when I started playing Dragon Age, I knew that Mass Effect existed, but didn't really have an interest in it at first, because I'm like, it's just the sci-fi version of Dragon Age. I'm not going to care that much. I'm not going to like it as much as Dragon Age. And then everyone's just like, but you should play Mass Effect. You have to. I'm going to kill you if you don't. So I was like, okay, fine. And then I realized that it was so much more than sci-fi. Like, it's a completely different story, and it does so much that Dragon Age doesn't, that made me really enjoy the game.
That's really cool. So, because this is your first time on our show, we do have to ask you a couple of questions about how Mass Effect 1 goes for you.
Okay.
So, when it comes to the Arachnite Queen, did you keep her alive or did you kill her?
Oh, well, I was playing a very, very renegade shepherd, so I killed her.
Oh, no.
Yikes. I guess you can never be too safe.
Yeah, that was like my shepherd's thing. Like, she does not like open ends. She doesn't like loose ends at all. Like, she was just very much to the point, and she understood a little bit. She's like, but I have too much on my plate right now. I don't need another problem later. I'm sorry.
That is valid. I think I can appreciate that approach.
Problems right now. I'm so stressed out.
What happened to Rex?
So Rex is my bro, and I was really disappointed I could not romance him. But so basically, I was entirely renegade, except that my shepherd was not racist and loved Krogan. And anytime someone insulted Krogan, she was just like, "Look, I will curb stomp you. I will curb stomp you, Krogan style." So I stood by Rex for everything. Did not kill him. He's my bro.
Solid.
My ride or die.
What about the Vermeer survivor?
Well, I kept Kaden because I didn't like Ashley because she was racist against my bro.
That tends to be the general consensus, it seems.
Yeah, she talked to Rex. I'm just like, look, that's my husband. You can't do that.
Well, since you couldn't romance Rex, did you romance anyone?
Yes. I decided that with a very purely renegade shepherd like that, she really needed someone to balance her out and kind of like keep her down to earth. And so I went with the Liara route, because like that was somebody who could just be like, no, we need to be good. Sometimes we have to be good. Do I have to be good? Yes, sometimes you have to be a little bit good. And I also really like the idea of it, because Liara is just this sunshine and rainbows and worship shepherd no matter what you do. And she's just going like, oh my god, shepherd's so sweet. Like, she's so sweet to me. She's so good. And everyone else is like, who the fuck are you talking about?
Okay, what happened with the council?
I let let them die. What
Well,
council?
what council? What was your reasoning for letting them die?
They were not serving any use. They refused to see problems. Anytime we presented them with a problem, they just put their fingers in theirs and pretended it didn't happen. They're like very annoying liberals, and we're just like, no, everything's fine as long as we're just nice about it. Like, no, you're just centrist. Like, shut the hell up.
Truly the worst crime of all.
Yeah, it was like came time to like letting them die. It's just like, for the greater good. Renegade Shepherd, she doesn't give a fuck. She's just like, these guys are just making everything worse. They're creating problems for me, and I have too many problems. Don't need another one.
And lastly, who did you put on the council for the human representative?
I picked Anderson.
Very consistent. Captain Dadderson all the way.
No one likes Udina. Like, no one. I don't...
Udina is garbage.
I mean,
garbage human being.
Even as a renegade, it's like, I'm still not going to pick the asshole. Like, I know better than that.
Yeah. Because even, like, my Renegade Shepherd is just kind of like, no, like, there's no point to you. Like, you're just a jerk to be a jerk. And also, you were a jerk to me, and I'm the king of jerk. You're a jerk to me. You asked me permission to be a jerk to others.
Well said.
All right. Okay, let's dive into this summary.
Go for it.
We head back over to Omega to track down Samara's daughter, the Ardat Yakshi. Arya gives us the scoop on where to look, and we find a grieving mother who believes her daughter was murdered. After some careful questioning, Samara and Shepard discovered that Morinth had a hand in this young artist's death. They form a plan where Shepard will go into Afterlife alone to lure Morinth into a meeting, taking them back to her apartment. Things don't go quite as Morinth planned, and Shepard has to make a choice. So here's the question. Why is this mission important?
I assume, like, besides, it being a loyalty quest, and this is how you prove Samara's, like, your loyalty to her. As story-wise, like, I really love how much lore we get in this quest, like, as far as Asari go, because, like, up until now, there's a lot of people being like, oh, those purebloods, and they look down on them, but there's no real reason why. And you kind of, like, get to this point, and you start to notice that, like, oh, being a pureblood has a risk. Like, this is a huge risk. And you kind of, like, it's sort of like a look into Asari culture just a little bit and, like, why they behave the way that they do.
Is Samara one of your favorite characters in the game?
I wouldn't say she's one of my favorites, but I don't dislike her either.
Okay.
So something that I kind of struggled with after this mission, I got kind of hung up on queer representation in this mission, and I couldn't quite figure out how to articulate the feelings that I was having. So I wonder if while we discuss this mission, we can kind of keep that in the back of our minds in case any of us come up with a way to touch upon this topic and make it make sense for me.
Sure. I mean, the relationship related stuff in this mission seemed kind of complicated. And some of it is a little muddled, so I get that. And I think maybe if we dive into it, we might be able to navigate our way through it.
But before we talk about the Ardat Yakshi in earnest, we do have to check in a little bit with our folks on the Normandy.
Yep. I actually didn't bother checking in with Joker this time, because the last 2 times I checked in with him, he had nothing to say.
I mean, he still doesn't really have anything to say, but he did have at least a unique quote, which was, "I'm glad Rex isn't coming with us because I think we're at head-butting capacity." And I thought you would appreciate it, which is the only reason I wrote it down.
Yep. That's fair.
But we get the best scene with Morden ever.
Yep. This is the moment where we find out that not only does Martin have an interest in art, and he dabbled, but that he actually sang as well. Mm-hmm. And I love the origin of this conversation because it's based out of fascination and a discussion of how empty the collectors are, like that they're husks of what they used to be, and that leads him to mention things that Shepard then goes, wait a minute, I know that other stuff is important, but did you just say what I think you said? And I love that.
Yeah. The very model of a scientist Solarian is excellent. It is cinematically beautiful.
This is gonna be a karaoke track.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I wonder if we could rewrite that whole entire song.
I mean, I'm sure.
Oh, that's going to be my next project. That's going to be the next Fandom Corner.
It did lead me to do some research that bummed me out a little bit about Morden, though, that I had not realized up until this point, that the voice actor who plays Morden in the second game was not asked back to play Morden in the third game. They recast him.
Oh, no. I didn't even realize that.
Me neither. And even though the voices are similar, I was mostly checking because lately when I've shared the podcast, I've tried to tag the voice actor while doing these missions to kind of like get an extra boost. You know, got to get that social credit. But yeah, I realized that apparently BioWare just never contacted the voice actor who played Morden in the second game. And it's unknown why he was recast, just that he was. And the new gentleman who played Morden was also the voice director of the game and is like a really well-known voice actor. And so it's just a little odd. And so I thought I'd share because I discovered that today.
Sad.
But that said, I do love this moment so much. I like that, you know, Morden says that, you know, the collectors have no souls and no organs, no souls. And so they can't create things, you know, like science and art. And Shepard's like, wait, you like art? And then Morden just goes on a tangent and it just goes down a rabbit hole. And it's my favorite thing.
I really liked that we see more of Morden acknowledging that the Solarians fucked up.
Yeah.
Because that's why it hits him so hard. Mm-hmm. He says, advancement before culture is ready. Because that's what they did to the Krogan. Right.
Yeah, it's great to see how these characters grow after the loyalty missions. I was trying to find the word for it. What Mass Effect 2 does really well that I don't think any of the other games does quite as well is just the way that these characters develop because of how they stagger it, because of how the missions are designed. You really get a sense of who these people are and get to grow with them, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, shall we move on to Grunt, our angry lizard boy?
Our angry lizard son who is finally understanding his identity. The anger doesn't feel quite so loud because now he knows that it's part of being Krogan. And I don't know if that's better.
It didn't stop me from taking the renegade chat option towards the end of going, am I going to have to lock you up? Please don't make me lock you up. Like, are you going to still be a problem? Because he's just so excited.
He's so hype. He's so hype about his blood rage.
And just talking about how he wants to kill things forever. And if he ever runs out of things to kill, Shepard's in trouble. Joy.
See, that was just so heartwarming for a renegade shepherd.
I'm sure.
Of course it was.
Him.
You see your lizard son grow into a lizard man, I guess.
I mean, yeah. He'll always be our lizard son, though. Man or not. Or grown Krogan, because I don't know. Whatever. There was one final check-in for me that I guess MJ didn't have because it wasn't listed until I added it. But as someone who's continuing to pursue a relationship with Jack, I had a follow-up conversation to the previous one we talked about last time, where I continued to prod about her past a little bit and wanting to know why she's so guarded. And she tells a story about someone that she actually cared very strongly for and who went back to save her life on a smuggler's run and then ends up getting killed. And it just destroyed her, and she doesn't want to go through that again. And what I like about this conversation as my shepherd is it feels very high school, but not in a bad way. Like when someone likes someone, but they're guarded and the other person just kind of pokes a little and like tries to be warm. And like watching Jack get flustered is very fun for me just because she's this personality that's typically very in control and super brave and nonchalant. And so to watch her get like flustered and blush and stuff is kind of a lot of fun, actually.
So you're pursuing that relationship?
Currently, yes.
All right. She's done with me. She has nothing to talk about with me whatsoever.
That's me and Miranda. Every time I go to check in with her, she's like, "I'm really busy, Shepard. Can we talk later?" I'm like, "All right, I get it. All right, fine." Of course, the conversation with Jack does end with her telling me to go the hell away. But there's kind of like an up lilt in her voice when she says it. So clearly, she's not angry like after the first conversation. Like, I'm starting to break through a little bit, it feels like.
It's an apple love.
It's an
go away,
affectionate fuck off.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
All right. That's it for check-ins.
Yep.
Let's do the thing.
So what was interesting about this mission that I had forgotten is that it's one of the few completely story-focused mission. There's no combat in this mission whatsoever.
There isn't. You're right.
Yep. And there are a few others, I believe, that do this, but not a ton of them. Most missions have combat of some kind that deal with our comrades, as it were. And so I thought that was very interesting, that we didn't have to fight anything. It was all navigating story and charisma checks, essentially, which makes for something kind of more compelling. That also goes much more quickly than I realized. Of course, we're going back to Omega. And when you're in Omega, you have to talk to Omega, which is, of course, Arya T'Loak, who is Omega, as she's mentioned many a time.
I love her so much.
It is my favorite role ever played by Carrie-Anne Moss. I love Carrie-Anne Moss as an actress, but like this role, it's just such a fun character. I hope if they ever do a live action Mass Effect movie, it's just about Arya T'Loak and Carrie-Anne Moss gets to play her. Like, that's all I want, really.
I would give that all of my money.
Yeah, same. Because if I've learned anything about Mass Effect, it's like you can't make stories about Shepard in the movies because everyone's Shepard is different. But if you focus on individual characters and their history, like that you can do a lot with.
Absolutely. And I think people would be a lot more interested in that too, to like just go into like backstories of people, like an entire movie about, Garrus and his little hunting crew.
Right?
Yeah.
During Mass Effect 2. Like I would love to see a movie of that, of just him and his crew.
Yeah, totally.
And I think it's because we're all so very hungry for more.
I mean, that's true. A part of this podcast's success is the fact that people want to talk about these games and engage with them more. This is not a franchise that's dead by any means.
Yeah. And the other thing, like with Mass Effect that Dragon Age doesn't really have, is that you're playing with the same companions throughout every single game. Like obviously, some are, they leave and can come and go, but like Dragon Age is very, like every single game is a different crew. You have a different PC. It's very different, but like throughout 3 games, you are playing with the same people, so obviously you're going to get attached to them.
Yeah, for sure.
With them.
I just finished Inquisition. We're going to have a talk later.
I've still never beaten it. I got like a third of the way through. But anyway, that's for another time. So we speak to Arya, and Arya essentially tells us to go visit an apartment on the other side of Omega. Someone was killed there recently, and she believes that could be who we're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, Arya knows about the Ardat Yakshi, and when Samara says, "And you haven't done anything about it?" Arya's just like, "Why? She's not after me."
Which is kind of Arya's MO at this point, is if it's not my problem, it's not my problem.
It's kind of a mood, but at the same time, Arya.
Come on. I mean, she's an Asari, right? You would think.
This is why Arya and my Shepard got along so well.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't doubt that. And so we're sent off to go find this tenement where the woman who was murdered used to live. And when we get there, we come across her grieving mother. Nothing is more fun as a hero is to walk into a room where someone is already crying. Like,
yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. So we meet this woman who's telling us about her daughter, Neff. And the medic said that she had a brain aneurysm, but she firmly believes that Neff was murdered. And when the mother tells us a little background about Neff and who she'd been hanging out with and this Asari named Morinth, Samara and Shepard exchanged this look.
Yeah. What I love that this game does really well is, we talked about this in Jack's mission, like when before she blew up the station, how her and Shepard just had a look, and Shepard banged on the door. He knew it was coming. This is the same kind of thing. Like, their faces tell the story. You don't need any words there. They just kind of have a look at each other like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I was so sad for this lady. I just wanted to hug her. I was like,
which is legit.
And like, you can comfort her. And
Yeah,
when you're finding out about like who this girl was, and just like, you just feel sad for her because you're like, oh my god, she was an artist. She was so young.
And she was also coming into her identity as well.
Yes.
And like, that makes it like hurt even more for me personally. Because like,
well, yeah, I mean, when you listen to her vid diary, like, it's unclear if she even was super in tune with her queerness before meeting Morinth, and it felt like, based on the vids, that like Morinth helped her learn something about herself, which makes it even sadder that like she was like coming to this new world of stuff that she may have like had some idea of, but was just really starting to experience, and it was cut short.
Yeah. She has this line where she says, "I'm just dumb trash from Omega." And I want to reach into the past and be like, you are not. You are talented and sweet and amazing, and you deserve so much more than the shitty life that you've been given.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And like, this whole...
It's just like, because, you know, so many quests, like if you're solving a murder, it's just a murder. It's just a dead body. But like, it's, you go into this house and you have no idea who this girl is. And before you leave the house, you're attached to her.
Yeah. And she's like this young baby queer with like all of her art, and she just wants to be loved so badly.
Yeah, and her mom is a wreck because like she knew very little about Morinth, just knew that she was a bad influence, like from the jump. And as you continue to talk to the mother and explore the room, you learn a lot about what transpired and what the mom's going through on her end. Again, a seemingly good family stuck on Omega for whatever reason that they're stuck there, and the mother felt so alone because no one seemed to even care that this had happened, because it was just some young human girl. Who cares? And you do get an opportunity as a Paragon action to comfort her and talk to her some more, find out more about Neff and about the things that she liked. It's a lot of dialogue and it's a lot of exploration to get the narrative here, but when you put all the pieces together, it really does seem like it's just a tragedy. It doesn't seem like anything. It is a tragedy, and it's heartbreaking.
I will say I don't understand Neff's art.
I mean, I don't either, but I don't claim to be hip at this point, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's... I don't understand a lot of art.
Well,
I've gone to the Met, I've seen the thing that's just a bunch of clothes hangers, I'm just like, maybe I'm just too trashy.
well, at least we're all on the same page and that none of us understand art.
No, I definitely do not.
My Shepherd definitely didn't. I mean, she didn't even take the Paragon action to, like, comfort the mother. She's just like, oh, this is awkward, she's crying, this is gross, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do.
Oh, that sounds on brand for you.
That definitely is true. But we do find out while searching the room that the interaction happened at the VIP club, and that when we found out the code word to get into the VIP club, and this is when Samara has the brilliant idea that Shepard should be bait.
Yep.
Shepherd's a babe and can't dance.
My favorite thing is that Samara goes, "This is a subtle, delicate act. Ah, yes, what Shepard is known for."
Subtlety and delicateness. Especially, apparently, May's Shepard is clearly those things as a
Yeah.
renegade.
Word.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so Samara decides that, and you agree that Shepard should be bait. It'll be easier to lure her in because there's no way she could resist you. And like, my Shepard had a moment of like, oh, thank you. I mean, I wasn't looking for compliments, but like, I'll take it. Thank you. That's very kind of you to say.
I don't think I had that.
Really? I'm
I don't
shocked.
think she said something like that to me. Or at least if she did, I didn't take it that way.
I guess not. No, it was very clear, like, at least in my conversation, she was saying how yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's that Samara is straight, and that's why, finger quotes, straight, because what does that mean in space? But I don't know. I just know that it happened, and I was very, my Shepherd, like me, was very flustered in that moment. Like, oh, thanks. That's kind, or something. Whatever.
I think maybe I was too distracted by the image of Samara waving at me from behind a pile of trash.
That animation is so awkward. Like, the things you don't notice as technology moves on, and then you go back to last gen games, like, for the most part, a lot of the animations in this game are very fluid and really well done. But that moment where Samara is awkwardly waving, like, big, broad waving hand behind trash, yeah, was very strange.
Subtle. Delicate.
Oh yeah, both those things.
All right. So the whole premise of this section is that we go into the club and we have to do things to impress Morinth.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys end up doing?
So yeah, because what's really interesting is that there are more things to do than you can complete. So like, they give you a variety of options, and you can finish. There are certain like people you can help, certain actions you can take, but it's impossible to take them all because they want to give you like a variety of options. I want to talk about really quick though about heading into the VIP club and this tweaker who was like freaking out about a band and needing tickets, which is more insider information that you need. Although I blanked on the name of the band. It was something 10, but I can't remember what. Expel 10. And like, as an adult now, having a long and storied music history behind me, I heard him say the name Expel 10, and like, I wanted to like shrug it off, and then I went, no, that's definitely a band I probably would have listened to in high school. A name like Expel 10. So
Nerd.
yeah. But the three things I did was help the young woman who was talking to the gangster, convince the bartender to buy a round of drinks, and pay off the thugs so they'd leave without causing trouble.
Huh. May, what'd you do?
The only decision I super remember making was the option to get into a fight. Like, I started a bar fight.
Of course you did.
Because of course I did. Because like when the thug's there, I'm just like, no, and started a fight.
Oh, so yeah, so that's a renegade option. I couldn't take that option because I didn't have enough renegade. So the other option with those thugs is to pay them off and they leave. So you did the opposite, where you were just like, nah, I'm gonna fight you now. Nice.
You remember that's like what got her attention? She's just like, huh, you know how to handle yourself. And I'm like, yeah.
I helped the reporter.
Okay,
like
that's
Matt did.
that's the one. Yep.
I approached an Asari on the dance floor and said, I'll dance next to you. And if you want to think we're dancing together, that's fine. And I was like,
Wow.
That is the worst thing that a person could possibly say, and I'd want to punch you in the face, Shepard. But then the
You're
Asari was
so
totally
smooth.
into it. I was just like, no, don't fall for that. I'm the one who said it, and I'm angry about it.
Yeah.
And the third,
Because you can't pass up Shepherd dancing. Just
no,
can't.
you can't.
All limbs and flailing. Yeah, it's the best.
And the third thing I did was there was a Turian who was harassing one of the dancers, and I threw him across the floor.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. Anytime where I can step in and like tell a shitty man to fuck off, I'm gonna do it.
I mean, duh. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I do like that after you do the three things, whatever they are, Morinth appears out of nowhere and goes, I've been watching you from my dark table over there. And it's like, I know you're the bad guy, but also that's a really obvious bad guy thing to do. Reminds me of like our early interactions with Saren in the first game. Like, really? Pretty sure you're
clearly
a
a bad person.
Me and my dark corner table where I just watch people creepily when they can't see me because I'm in a dark table. Okay, sure, you're a good guy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have our conversation with Morinth where we have to prove to her, essentially, that we have... Or not prove to her, but, like, continue to be interesting by regurgitating some of the knowledge we learned that were similar things Neff liked. And as long as you, I think, get the best 3 out of 4 or whatever, like, as long as you get most of them correct, she will take you home.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a way to fail it, though. I don't think.
There is.
Okay.
You can. I almost lost her at one point because I forget what I said about power. It was like something power, strength, or whatever. And she was like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for children. And then I had a Paragon option to kind of win her back.
Yeah.
And that worked. And I was just like, I just hate talking to you, and I kind of want this to be over. I think talking to you is not fun.
I remembered everything, and I had recalled that, like, essentially the most aggressive option was the options that she would want to hear. As Shepard in that moment, it's unnerving how much Morinth looks like Samara. Like, I would guess her for her sister if I didn't know she was her daughter. Especially since Asari once they mature, they don't really age after that. Like, they hit a mature age, and they continue to age, but they don't really change physically. At least the ones that we see.
Yeah, we've never really seen, like, really elderly Asari.
That's true.
That's true.
Although Samara's no Samara's no spring chicken, though. She's been alive a long time. Like, she's definitely older than Liara.
Well, yeah, but she's not elderly.
Well, that's true. But that's the thing I'm saying is, I mean, even Matriarch Benezia, who was older, wasn't elderly either.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe they just stopped aging
There
physically.
are no old people in space, apparently.
Apparently. None. That's not true. There are old humans, but that's it.
Yeah.
And not a lot of them.
So Morinth invites us back to her place,
where we get to pick a quick upgrade up off the wall by examining one of the guns, you know, like you do as Shepard.
Yeah.
And then get some story about a sword, a statue, and the game of chess. And the thing she says, I can't remember what it is now to quote it, but like how she describes playing chess and toying with people, it's like, oh my god, I want to punch you.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Obvious villain is obvious.
I can't stand her. She's exactly the kind of person that I would expect to just absolutely fight. Like, like you sound like one of those people who pays $16 for cauliflower.
Well, yeah, like I had not thought of that because we didn't have the articulate language for it back when I first played this game. But Morinth is absolutely an Asari hipster. She's a space hipster. And it's gross. I hate it.
Oh my god. So when you like get into your conversation with her, there's a part where your Shepard can say, we've both killed many times. And her response is, why do you say I've killed? And I just want to be like, you literally just told me about a time you killed a guy while dueling with a sword. You have killed. You have told me right now that you killed someone.
I mean, you said it didn't end well for them, but what the hell do you think that means? I'm not an idiot.
You obviously killed someone.
My favorite thing about this conversation is as long as you have a certain amount of renegade or paragon, you can totally not fall for her spell and get sucked in. And like, she's just so flabbergasted no matter which route you go. She's just like, what the hell? Yeah. My seduction magic isn't working.
To which I wanted to just say, yes, because you're a dirty hipster.
So when Morinth realizes that it's not working on you, she realizes that Samara is probably nearby. And then the two of them get into a fight.
Yep, Samara and Morinth fight, and it looks epic and awesome. I love the essentially Jedi space battles that happen with the Asari, who are essentially this game's version of Jedi, like just throwing each other around, and like the scene where you have to decide whose side to take. It just visually looks so awesome.
Yeah.
I just love the way things are spinning and the force bubbles. It just looks really cool.
The graphics are really great for this scene.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to assume we all made the same choice, yes?
Well, before we get to the choice, I want to talk about
Sure.
a couple of things for Morinth.
Sure.
Morinth says, "My only crime is being born with the gifts you gave me." Which, no, that's not your only crime. Your other crime is murder.
Yeah, your
Like-
crime is committing crimes.
Actual murder. Cool motive, still murder. And I really wish that I could be down with Morinth. Because if she just, like, if she murdered shitty dudes, if she was some kind of, like, avenger in a way, then I would have been down. I would have been like, I mean, yeah, she's a murderer, but this murder was definitely justifiable.
But no, she's murdering young artists who are just learning about their life and who they are. I mean, come on.
Exactly. She uses these gifts to hurt innocents, and that's why I can't side with her. And I feel like the writing is doing Morinth a disservice. And this could have been better, and it could have been a harder choice to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like picking Morinth is just a renegade choice for the sake of renegade choice. Even though like there are no color values of red or blue on the choice, like, but one is clearly the paragon and one is clearly the renegade. I mean, like the first moment when Samara first busts in and throws her against the glass and she calls her mother and she's like, "Don't call me that." Like that dialogue is really great. Like, what am I supposed to call you? Like, you are my mother. Just because you've disowned me, it doesn't make you not my mother. But yeah, once it gets to like anything beyond that, she's kind of irredeemable. And so the only reason to make that choice is to be, hey, I'm a renegade and I make bad choices, which is not what renegade should be. And not all the renegade choices are that, thankfully. A lot of them are just more aggressive, less delicate choices. But this is a problem that this game has a lot that I feel like gets a little better in the third game. But like there are tons of renegade choices that are like just for the sake of being an asshole or a terrible person.
Like, I went pretty renegade and I still did not choose Morinth. I could not see the benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Like, even like a role-playing perspective, like my shepherd would just like look at her like, again, this is just another problem. You're a ticking time bomb. What if you go after one of my companions? No, absolutely no.
Yeah. And
I have hot companions. You can't take them.
I feel like the writers really missed an opportunity. If they had made her a sympathetic character, then that's an actual difficult choice to make.
Yeah.
You know, if the murders had been in self-defense, if anyone she murdered was because they assaulted her, like, or if she was like protecting other women. But no, instead, yeah.
she's just a rule-breaking badass that's a terrible person.
She's not even a badass.
For no reason. Well, no. But I'm saying in the game's eyes,
Yeah.
she's considered to be, but without any actual moral value. You know, she's just a bad person.
She's basically just here to gentrify Omega. That's why she's targeting the poor of Omega. That's all it is. Hanging out in these fancy clubs.
So it's pretty clear by that discussion then that we all chose Samara then.
Yes.
I figured. It's funny. Samara is a character. there's something deeply interesting to me about her compared to our other teammate that's like there's a direct comparison to Liara, right? Because they are both Asari and they're both teammates that we've had. And there's something interesting in a different way about Samara, the fact of how she carries herself, how proud she is, but even in the moments where she's tender, like it's just really interesting the way she carries herself, the way she talks. Like once the deed is done and she's killed her daughter, like you try to see if she's okay, and she asks you for mercy. This woman who could kill anyone, who is probably one of the most powerful beings on the planet, and still, with the death of her daughter, asks you for mercy to let her like just kind of grieve, and maybe she'll talk about it another time. There's something really beautiful and sad about that.
Samara's a great character.
Yeah, I respected her so much in that moment. Like the entire time I'm feeling horrible for her. Like she has to murder her daughter and there's no other way around it. And like in that moment, like I really felt for her and I wanted to just find a way to like make Morinth better, like make her an asshole, but sorry, Mom.
Yeah. Samara calls Morinth the bravest and smartest of her daughters.
Yeah.
That made it sadder.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crushing. Yeah, and then the mission's over. That's it. You pop outside her hotel, like you're back in the main area of Omega. This is another mission that ends on this in the location you're on. You don't go straight back to the ship. And it's on the shorter side. The mission only takes about 15-20 minutes if you like explore everything.
Yeah.
Because it's very focused and to the point, but I think it doesn't make it personally any less impactful because it is a really interesting mission, and I think except for like the irredeemable qualities of Morinth, there's a lot of great storytelling here, though not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, overall it was a sad mission,
Yep.
and it invoked a lot of feelings and emotional connection, which is what you look for in something like this.
Totally.
I still can't parse my feelings about queer representation in this.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're like this goes back to what you're talking about if she was like someone just going around killing shitty men, it wouldn't also be using queerness as a plot device in a way where, like, of course the young lesbian gets killed. I mean, we don't even know if Neff is a lesbian. She could be bisexual. She could be, whatever. But it's very much a trope to kill young queer people, which is used to further the plot in this story. And I get the sense that's part of what you're wrestling with, and I totally get that.
I think it's that. I think it's also the concept of taking advantage of young queer folks.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're exploring their identity.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's so delicate. And I think for those of us, who are queer, like we watch those videos of Neff, like we see ourselves at 17, 18 when we're, discovering ourselves, and we see ourselves, and that's what makes it so impactful.
Yeah,
She's like just learning about herself.
Yeah, I think that's probably what stuck with me so hard, is seeing little baby queer Neff and just being like, oh no, who held up this mirror to me?
Yeah.
Rude.
Yeah. All in all, though, I do like this mission. I feel like Samara as a character we don't really get to know that well, even when we get to know her. She does open up a bit after this, but like I like this mission because I like sort of like what Nelson talked about in the last episode. Like, I happen to quite like the Asari. I think a lot of the lore around them is fascinating, as we don't have a ton of like concrete answers about certain things, and so like everything I can get to learn about them and their people just is really very interesting to me, especially since everything that we're learning from Samara is so much different than what we learned from Liara and Benezia. It's just there's so much diversity to the way they their government runs, to their planets, to their their armies and scientists and everything else. It's really fascinating to me.
This mission's a downer. I'm sorry. I'm like really sad now.
Yeah, it definitely is. But we could move on to Fandom Corner, where we have something decidedly happier.
Yeah, okay, sure. It's time for Fandom Corner. Yay. I feel like Fandom Corner needs a theme song.
It does, but then that means more editing for me, so maybe it doesn't.
So I mentioned last episode that I was working on a cover of something. We all remember the Krogan Char and his love poetry to the Blue Rose of Ilium.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to take that poem and set it to some ukulele chords and sing it.
Cool. That's awesome.
I love it.
That is a thing. I dropped the link into our Discord, and Matt can put it in here.
Yep, I will edit it right now.
Oh, blue rose of Ilium, let your roots dig deep into the hot soil of Tuchanka. Let our scorching sun and sheeting rain turn your supple beauty into strength. For if our love is to survive, it must grow thorns to pierce the hand of any that would uproot it. Blue rose of Ilium, you have blossomed in a tower of glass and plastic, but beauty under glass is untested and weak. Where are your honored dead to fertilize the ground that you might grow strong on the rocky plains of Tuchanka? I will build you a garden from the bones of my ancestors. Blue rose of Ilium, leave eternity unembraced and grapple in the glorious struggle that is us and here and now. I am speechless, not with blood rage, but with love, and I stand here humble and mute to offer you a home. Come to me, blue rose of Ilium, let our three hearts beat as two. So, I don't know if you listened to it as well, May, but...
I did not get a chance yet. I will after this. I was raiding before this.
Yeah, that's fair. I kind of just, like... I know 4 chords on the ukulele, and I played those chords. And that is how I did that.
Look, remember that no matter how much you put yourself out there, you will never be I sang a cappella versions of the theme music from this game out there, so you're fine.
It's true. I will never be as intense as Ian.
Yeah, few folks are.
Oh, we love you, Ian.
All right, so I will definitely have edited that in somewhere before this part of the conversation. We can only hope. I should probably make a note somewhere. I'll remember. And for our next episode, we will be doing Eye for an Eye with Colin M. Parker, previous guest of the podcast.
I'm excited about Colin, but I'm also excited about this mission.
Because it's your space boyfriend's mission.
Because it's my boyfriend. And now I can finally romance him for real.
So we'll be doing that. We're excited to have Colin on again and to have him talk about this mission, as I do believe Garrus is his favorite character, as I recall. So that should be fun. So tune in for that in 2 weeks. Also, I want to take this opportunity to thank May for being on the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yay.
This would be a good place if you want to do some self-promo. Tell people where they can find you on the internet or the stuff that you work on.
Well, I don't really have anything to self-promote my way. So because I do work in mental health, I will tell you to hydrate, take your meds, take care of yourself. Always put your mental health first before you do all of those other things. It is okay to say no, etc., etc. Probably all things that you know but need to be reminded of every now and then.
Thank you, May.
That is definitely useful and helpful information. Thank you for sharing.
And if you ever work on your other stuff again, we will always share it out.
Okay.
So if you like what you heard here, you can follow us on social media at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, facebook.com/reignitepod, or send us an email, reignitepod@gmail.com. You can rate, review, or subscribe on your favorite podcatcher if you can. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
We're members of the Certain Point of View Network. Visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on the website, which we use to chat with other folks who love this show and the other shows on the network. So go ahead, click on that link, and join in the conversation.
Matt and I do some other stuff. I do a podcast called Circle of Friendship with my good friend Anna, where we talk about The Circle of Magic by Tamara Pierce, Friendship, Threadcraft, and Briar Moss. And I also do a podcast called Not That Robcast, where we talk about the works of Rob Thomas. No, not that one.
I have been doing a lot of Twitch streaming. This week has been a little light as of when we're recording because I had been sick, but I am playing Super Nintendo games, current games, pretty much whatever the hell I feel like it. Twitch.tv/DJ_Stormageddon. I plan on, as we speak, starting a new playthrough of A Link to the Past, one of the best Zelda games ever made. So if you're into that or just want to watch someone play video games mediocrely, definitely tune into my Twitch channel.
Thank you to Christina Red Spinks for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble featuring our favorite marshmallow, Kata Delenko. You can find more of their work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram. We'd also like to thank David Boyle for designing our logo, which you can also get on a shirt through Redbubble, and Dan Bull for letting us use the Mass Effect rap for our theme music. I'm MJ.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And I'm Mea Pearson. We should go.
You're listening to Reignite. I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel.